Whoo boy, you got to be careful when you talk about Seth Rich on the internet. I mean, you could get sued. His family has sued people to the tune of 7-figure settlements for just talking about the theories of what happened to Seth Rich. So just the facts, ma'am. Here we go. Seth Rich was a DNC cybersecurity staffer, total patriot. You'd never see a Democrat wearing clothes like this. This was actually taken outside of the DNC headquarters. It's a hideous building in Washington. Seth Rich had top-level cyber clearances at the DNC, and it just so happened that Seth Rich was working there when the massive document dump from the DNC was handed over to WikiLeaks. These are, of course, the documents where you get everything from spirit cooking dinners with the Podestas to Hillary rigging the election against Bernie Sanders, to Bernie getting payouts, right, for dropping out, to Russia collusion, right, with the DNC. I mean, this is where it all started. These WikiLeaks documents blew the doors off of everything. The entire diseased church came down on their head. And I don't know if Seth Rich had anything to do with that. We haven't seen the evidence. But what we do know is at approximately that same time, right after the WikiLeaks dump, or around near that time, July 10th, 2016, in the absolute heat of the presidential election in 2016, when both national conventions were going on, Seth Rich was murdered, shot in the back at 4 a.m. in Washington, D.C. Not a particularly dangerous neighborhood of Washington, D.C. He was getting off a metro. Two perpetrators who murdered Seth Rich have never been apprehended. There's never even been any explanation. The police say it might have been a robbery, but he wasn't robbed. So nobody knows what happened. It could just be a horrible coincidence, a random act of violence for absolutely no reason. Nobody knows. And so therefore, in an information vacuum, people ask questions. What I find particularly ironic about this is the enormous amount of effort that has been put in to counteract conspiracy theories about Seth Rich, challenging the Seth Rich conspiracy theories, right? You can see this. The murder of Seth Rich, unsolved murder of Seth Rich, true crime. Seth Rich has his own byline and PBS, right? And the New York Times. You can find all these stories about Seth Rich, NPR. It's always government-funded media. Seth Rich killing was exploited. His parents are fed up. Okay. Well, I mean, like, I'd be fed up if my son was killed as well. I mean, that would be just the most horrible thing ever. But the people that I think in good faith want an explanation here, I don't think there's any malevolence in that. You should want there to be an explanation for Donald Trump getting shot in the head in Butler. Like, what the hell was going on there? What's going on with these people? You know, you need to find some type of motive, to understand what happened, and we've been provided nothing here. So that's all. Just a good faith. Seth Rich seemed like a good person. There was a lot going on at that time, and everybody is wondering why. Why did this happen? It doesn't make any sense. Well, now there's been a breakthrough in the case. It's been 10 years, and the FBI has just revealed that there was a secret room with a burn bag that had Seth Rich files in it that describe the nature of the murder and the FBI's investigation into it. Hidden docs that could bust open the Seth Rich case. There aren't many political mysteries from 2016 still have the power to set the internet on fire like the unsolved murder of the DNC staffer Seth Rich. The official story is that the 27-year-old was shot near his DC home in a botched robbery. His family has rejected all claims that's somehow connected to WikiLeaks or murdered because he worked at the DNC. And they've asked people to not politicize their son's death. And I want to make it very clear, I'm not doing that. I'm asking a good faith question to solve a murder of what seemed to be a perfectly decent young man who was killed and nobody knows why. The questions never went away. Many details surrounding the case are sketchy and make no sense. Seth Rich was killed less than 2 weeks before the WikiLeaks began publishing thousands of internal DNC documents that rocked the 2016 election. A bitter, ugly internal battle over Hillary and Bernie. As a result, the theory emerged the emails released didn't come from Russia, but came from somebody inside of the DNC. Seth Rich's name was tied to that theory, many believe to this day, that he's the insider who leaked. Bernie was outed by Hillary, and now there's been no public proof of that claim. Some people who knew Seth Rich claimed he wasn't some disgruntled Bernie bro. Okay, but then Julian Assange entered the chat, and things got a lot more curious. Assange did something he never does. He spoke out about a source. He publicly denied that the Russian government or a state actor was the source. Then, during a 2016 interview about some dangers he faced by WikiLeaks sources, Assange unexpectedly brought up Seth's murder. When the interviewer asked whether Rich had been the source, Assange fell back on WikiLeaks' policy of refusing to identify sources. WikiLeaks later offered a $20,000 reward for information. Here it is right here. WikiLeaks offered $20,000 reward regarding information on Seth Rich. Now, a decade later, a new claim has surfaced. If it is confirmed, the FBI will have some very serious explaining to do. Attorney and former journalist Ty Clevenger has spent much of the past decade fighting federal government for records related to Seth Rich. Clevenger took to X with a bombshell post. He says a government attorney told him that several hundred pages of connected to Rich might have been discovered inside of a hidden room at FBI headquarters, and the story is pretty explosive, especially because last year FBI reported that Kash Patel and his team had located secret burn bags in the Hoover building, and they found computer drives with thousands of pages of burn bags used for classified materials. Maybe Seth was part of that mission. Some of the records were reportedly connected to the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Clevenger, who is honest about what he knows and what he doesn't know, isn't done deal by any stretch, but could be something big. He hasn't received the documents. He doesn't know what they contain. He doesn't know if the FBI will release any of them. As it stands right now, he's just reporting what the government attorneys told him. However, there's a bigger fight ongoing about the records in the Seth Rich case. At first, the FBI told Clevenger that it couldn't find any records related to Rich. But later, court proceedings proved the Bureau had records and assorted materials connected to Seth Rich's laptop, an image of his personal laptop, DVD, and tape drive. Later, federal court ruled that the FBI improperly withheld material. So there you go. Here's Ty Clevenger's update. Today, an attorney for the government told me that it would soon be getting confirmation that several hundred pages of documents related to Seth Rich were found in a previously hidden room at the FBI. Why are there hidden rooms at the FBI? Nobody knows. So there we go. Patriot fighter. The FBI needs to release all files on Seth Rich immediately, says Tim Burchett. Today, I sent a letter to FBI Director Kash Patel for the release of all records in the death of Seth Rich. The American people deserve answers. Good. There you go. Given the administration's commitment to transparency, I strongly urge the full release of all records pertaining to Seth Rich to uphold the public trust. Yes, please. Ty Clevenger has been relentless in pursuing justice. Seth Rich for years now, and his work is the best hope that we have for ever getting the whole truth. No idea whether Seth Rich leaked to WikiLeaks, but I have so much respect for Ty Clevenger for sticking with this case like a bulldog in determination. Release the Seth Rich files. That's what I would say. Shouldn't everybody, but especially, I mean, we're looking at Charlie Kirk's murder trial right now. And while it's horrific, there is some closure that is happening in this moment because you're able to see all of the evidence. And it's going to put to rest the uncertainty about things. And so that I think is important, for everyone. That's how you peacefully move on. And that's all we would be asking for with Seth Rich. I have no idea what happened. But isn't it critically important to just see everything? It's the same thing with Butler, right? I keep coming back to that. Release all the files. Let the American public make a ruling on this. The American public are good, moral, honest, and smart and intelligent people. And I trust them. Release all the files. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. What do you think happened with Seth Rich? Let me know in the comment section.